You keep saying you're going to do better. You'll start saying no to the drinking events. You'll go to the meeting, open the journal, but then you don't. And maybe nobody else notices, but you do. You feel every little promise you break to yourself. And over time, those tiny betrayals chip away at your confidence. You've seen yourself quit too many times, make too many promises you didn't keep, and now it just feels safer to not try at all. That's what we're talking about today. Not just self-sabotage, but the deeper damage it does to your self-trust. Because if you're stuck in a cycle of guilt and shame and starting over, it's not about willpower. It's about repair. And here's why this matters. When you rebuild trust with yourself, sobriety actually gets easier. You stop living in fear of the next relapse. You stop beating yourself up every time something slips, and you start showing up with real confidence. This is how you get out of the guilt spiral and into forward motion. And that's what today's episode is all about. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh, life coach, recovering alcoholic, and entrepreneur. And every Wednesday, I release a brand new episode to support you in quitting drinking, transforming your life, and becoming the boldest, most badass version of yourself. You know, since I got sober in 2006, I've made all the life mistakes. And along the way, I've learned exactly what works, what doesn't, and what really creates lasting change. And that's what I share with you here, whether it's confidence, coping skills, relationships, or just figuring out how to get out of your own way. I use this podcast to share the exact tools and mindset shifts that helped me stop the chaos and build a life that I love, one little thing at a time. And that's where we're going today. Because self-sabotage is one of the most painful patterns we deal with in sobriety, especially if you're someone who's high functioning, ambitious, and totally tired of starting over. We're not talking about dramatic rock bottom moments here. This is about the small betrayals that fly under the radar, the skipping your meeting, blowing off your routine, saying just this once and hoping for the best. This isn't about being lazy or weak. This is about emotional conditioning. It's guilt. It's fear of success. And it's what happens when you stop trusting yourself to keep your own promises. But here's the good news. That trust, you can rebuild it. And today I'm going to show you exactly how. I did another whole episode about self-sabotage too called, it was episode 223, Unlock the Meaning of Self-Sabotage and Helpful Ways to Overcome It. If you want to listen to that after this one, it gets deeper in why we self-sabotage, what those thought processes are, how to fix it. And I will link it in the show notes for you so you can check it out next. Again, it's number 223, Unlock the Meaning of Self-Sabotage and Helpful Ways to Overcome It. So let's talk about what self-sabotage actually looks like in sobriety, because it's not always obvious. It's not just grabbing a drink or ghosting your sponsor. It's not always dramatic. It's not, I just relapsed or I messed up again. It's quiet and it's sneaky. And more often, it looks like skipping your journaling because you're too busy, or saying yes to an event that you know will wreck your nervous system. You know you really shouldn't go. Sometimes you really don't want to go, but you do it anyway because you don't want to let anyone down or make them think something's going on with you, or you're just not good at setting healthy boundaries yet. Or maybe it's telling yourself you'll do better tomorrow for the third time this week. These are the tiny betrayals that slowly chip away at your self-confidence. And they don't seem like big deals in the moment, but they are. Every time you say you're going to do something and you don't, your brain takes note. And after enough times, your brain stops believing you. You stop believing you. So the more times you break promises to yourself, the more likely you are to stop believing you can change. That's when the story shifts from I'm working on it to maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And that's a dangerous place to be. So if you've been skipping things you know help you, if you keep making little promises and breaking them, that's not just about bad habits, that's self-sabotage. And it's fixable. If you don't interrupt the pattern, then you'll keep finding yourself right back in the shame spiral, wondering, why can't I stick with anything? And before we move into how guilt keeps you stuck, because when you're exhausted, you're way more likely to self-sabotage, I want to tell you about something that's been a total game changer for my own rest and recovery. Okay, I have to tell you about something I didn't expect to love as much as I do, and that's my Cozy Earth sheets. You know, I'm all about structure and systems and living intentionally, but let's not pretend that rest isn't part of the plan too. Because when you're building a sober life, sleep is your secret weapon. And Cozy Earth, this isn't just about nice bedding. This is game changing. Cozy Earth has officially turned my bedtime into a luxury ritual. These sheets are temperature regulating, ridiculously soft, and made from viscose from bamboo. So even my little inner perfectionist is satisfied. It's like sleeping in a 5-star hotel that I don't have to check out of at 11 a.m. And let's be honest, we spend a lot of time at home, especially when we're getting sober. So your space should feel like a sanctuary. These sheets and pajamas make you feel spoiled in the best way possible. It's luxury without the guilt. My friends are even jumping on the bandwagon. After touching my sheets, they're always like, how do I get these sheets? And they love them as much as I do. And here's the best part. You get a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty on all bedding. So there's literally zero risk. Go to CozyEarth.com and use code Angela for 40% off sheets, pajamas, and so much more. That's 40% off your new favorite part of your day. Your sanctuary awaits, my friend, at CozyEarth.com. So let's get to the guilt layer. Let's layer in the guilt. Guilt is a liar, but it's a very convincing one. It tells you you should have done more, you should be doing better. It tells you you've already messed up, you may as well keep going. And it tells you that your failure isn't just a thing that happened, but it's a reflection of who you are. Guilt is sneaky because it convinces you that you don't deserve to succeed, that you don't deserve to feel good. And maybe one of these sound familiar. You said you wouldn't drink at the birthday party, but you did. You promised yourself you'd wake up and journal, but you hit snooze 5 times. You wanted to cook a healthy meal, but you grabbed the fast food and told yourself, whatever, today's already ruined. I think we can all relate to at least one of those. Guilt turns one small misstep into a whole shame spiral. And when you're deep in that spiral, it feels easier to give up than to try again. And I want you to hear this right now. You are allowed to start again without beating yourself up first. You don't have to punish yourself into progress. You don't have to earn your own forgiveness before you get back on track. Guilt is a pattern. It's not your identity. And here's what guilt doesn't tell you. It can be unlearned. Where guilt becomes dangerous, and I want you to really pay attention here because this might be the part of the episode that changes everything for you. When you mess up, when you skip a meeting, say yes to the party, pour the drink, you might feel guilty. That's normal. That's a part of growth. But over time, guilt can morph into something more toxic, and that's shame. Here's the difference. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake. It doesn't just say you skip journaling again. It says you'll never follow through. It doesn't whisper, you drank when you said you wouldn't. It screams, see, you're a screw up. This is just who you are. And you start to believe it. You start to think, maybe I'm just someone who always quits. Maybe I'm too broken to change. Maybe this is just who I am. And you're not alone in those thoughts. One of the greatest comforts I got from being around other recovering alcoholics was realizing that my darkest, most disturbing thoughts weren't crazy. Sitting in meetings, hearing other people share their darkest, most disturbing thoughts, I find myself nodding my head furiously, thinking, holy shit, I had that exact same thought. There's nothing wrong with you or with me. You've just been stuck in a cycle for so long, you started to mistake your behavior for your identity. And that's heavy. It's exhausting. And it keeps you stuck. Because when you believe you are the problem, you stop even trying to change the behavior. You think, why bother? I'll blow it anyway. Or if I can't even keep one promise to myself, what's the point? You start treating your slip-ups like proof that you're doomed to fail. But listen, you are not your behavior. You are not your worst day. You've made choices you regret. You've had moments you're not proud of. Welcome to being human. But those are chapters in your story. It's not your whole story. One of my favorite sayings is, don't judge my story by the chapter you walked in on. The same goes for you. Don't judge yourself on the chapter you're in. Grow from it, learn from it, and then you move on to the next chapter. The second you stop attaching your worth to your slip-ups, you start taking your power back because you realize that failure is just something that happened. It's not who you are. And failure is the best feedback you can get because it tells you exactly what you need to do to get better. You are not your worst day. You are not the promises you've broken. You are not a failure. You're just someone who's been surviving the only way you knew how. You can stop punishing yourself and hiding and start healing. That's when everything starts to shift. Because now, instead of beating yourself up for the 100th time, you can start asking yourself a better question, which is, how can I start showing up for myself differently? Now you're learning a new way, a way that doesn't start with shame. It starts with self-trust. And that's what we're rebuilding today. So let's get into the fix, the practical side. Let's get into tool time. And today we're talking micro promises. Self-sabotage isn't about drinking, procrastinating, skipping the gym. It's about broken trust, the kind that happens when you say, I'm going to do this, and you don't do it. You've probably heard me say this before, but it's worth repeating. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at your internal credibility. You stop trusting your own word. You stop believing your intentions. And eventually you'll stop trying because deep down, you're already convinced you'll let yourself down again. Now, let's flip that. What if instead of continuing that cycle, you created a new pattern? Not by going big, not by setting impossible goals or launching into all or nothing mode again, but by rebuilding your trust with yourself one tiny promise at a time. That's what a micro promise is. A micro promise is a small, achievable action you can take today that sends a signal to your brain that I said I'd do this and I did. That's it. It sounds simple. It is simple. But it's not small. Because here's what happens when you keep a micro promise. You feel a tiny burst of pride inside. You start to feel capable again. And you shift your identity from the person who keeps starting over to the person who shows up for themselves. And when that starts to happen, sobriety gets easier. Because now, instead of living in fear of the next relapse, you're living in confidence about your next step. You're not navigating sobriety from a place of guilt and fear. You're leading with self-trust. A client of mine said not too long ago, he said, Angela, I don't think I've followed through on a goal in 10 years. I'll make a list. I set the alarm. I have the best intentions every Monday. I'll buy the journal. And by Thursday, I haven't done any of it. Does this sound familiar to you? So we started with one micro promise, which was super simple. Every morning, I'll open my journal and write one sentence. That's it. Not fill the page, not I'm going to sit down and do deep inner work. Just open the damn journal and write one damn sentence. That micro promise changed everything because once he saw himself following through, even on that small thing, he felt his power return. And he started making more promises and keeping them. And then you get into momentum and motivation and pride. And I want that for you too, because you don't need more punishing yourself. You need to believe yourself when you say, I'm going to do this. And you get there with tiny, repeated proof. Micro promises rebuild trust, and self-trust transforms everything. Not overnight, but one little win at a time. A tiny commitment that you can keep even on your worst day. It's not, I'm going to meditate every day this week. It's, I'll take 60 seconds to close my eyes and breathe before I check my phone. It's not, I'm journaling 5 pages a night. It's, I'll write one sentence about how I feel. It's not, I'm going to meal prep every Sunday. It's, I'll drink a glass of water before I have my coffee. And here's what happens. You get a win you can feel good about. You start to rebuild your internal credibility. And most importantly, you start to regain some momentum. Because success in sobriety doesn't come from giant willpower pushes. It comes from showing up in small ways consistently. And the more you follow through, the more you believe in yourself again. I had another client recently tell me that she finally felt proud of herself again, not because she hit some big milestone, but because she was following through on things. That's the shift. Progress, not perfection. None of us are hitting it out of the park every day and nailing it 100% of the time. Progress, not perfection. That's the beginning of real, lasting change. So let's take a breath and bring this all together. If you've been stuck in the self-sabotage loop, if you keep breaking promises to yourself, starting over, giving up, all the things you're feeling, that heaviness, that frustration, the why do I keep doing this? Because when you don't trust yourself anymore, when you've seen yourself quit too many times, it feels safer to not even try. And that's not laziness, it's self-protection. But remember, self-trust is rebuildable. It's not a switch. It's not a gift you're either born with or not. It's a muscle, and you can start strengthening it today. You don't have to overhaul your whole life. You don't have to fix everything by Friday. You just need to keep one tiny promise to yourself today, because that one promise leads to another and another. And before you know it, you're not just keeping promises. You're becoming someone who believes in themselves again. And that changes everything. Sobriety becomes less of a battle and more of a lifestyle. Your confidence grows, your shame shrinks, and instead of waiting for the next relapse, you start building the next chapter. You're not perfect, and you don't have to be. You're present, you're aware, and now you're equipped. So if you've been stuck in self-sabotage, if you feel like you've failed too many times to believe in yourself anymore, just start here. Start small. Start with one micro promise. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want help getting unstuck, creating structure in your life that supports your sobriety, real accountability, and a coach who's been where you are, check out my private coaching program. I have openings right now, and we focus on identity and structure, emotional tools, daily routines, all the things you need to not just get sober, but stay sober and build something beautiful on the other side. You can schedule a call with me to see if we're a good fit at addiction-unlimited.com/call. I'd love to support you in this. And also let me say too, I have more programs available than what you see online. I've been working on some things behind the scenes. So schedule a call with me, addiction-unlimited.com/call, and just see what I have available and see if we're a good fit to work together. Don't decide in advance that you can't do it, can't afford it, it's not for you, it's not the right time. Just have a conversation with me and let's figure it the F out one tiny thing at a time. That's all. I'd love to support you. Self-sabotage doesn't mean you're broken. It means you need a new strategy. And that strategy starts with trust, one tiny promise at a time. You've got this. I've got you. Schedule that call with me, addiction-unlimited.com/call. I will link that in the show notes along with that other self-sabotage episode, number 223. It'll all be in the show notes for you so you can get there right from your podcast app. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.